I need to delete this one. I should be going. I should just be able to see myself. Why can't I see myself? Calm down, Steve. Bad voice today. Your channel, YouTube Studio. Do I go to YouTube Studio? Dashboard, content, live. Ah! Right, I'll delete the one that's delete forever. Goodbye. Go away. However, this one says I'm actually live. Am I actually going? Am I actually going now? Where's my channel? Oh, it says live. Am I actually going now? Hooray! Bloody hell, that took ages to get going that time. Hello, Shmira. Hello, welcome, welcome. Oh, yeah, it took 5 whole minutes to get all that. That's a long time. A long time in streaming. But I appear to be here now. I appear to be doing the thing. Hooray! Let's just crack on. Disclaimer. I had COVID the other week. And I have a terrible, terrible cough. So I must apologise if I do the terrible, terrible coughing. And hopefully it won't be too bad. What do you mean something went wrong? Can you still see me? I got something went wrong on my screen on my PC there. Went wrong on my screen on my PC there. No, that's me saying that. So I am still live. Okay, I'm gonna assume. Let me change what's on my screen so that I can see that on my PC, so that I can definitely know that I'm live. Yeah, there it is. It's doing the thing. Hooray! And let's crack on. It is still working. I'm going to assume it's still working until further notice. I've done the disclaimer about the coffee thing. I've got a nice lukewarm cup of coffee here that I can sip. Do I not share the link in the chat? Oh yeah, I should probably do that, shouldn't I? Yes. Let's share the link on the Discord. Let's put it like in general. Let's put it in streaming. Let's put it in general. Oh, Shmar's already put it in general. Thank you. I keep my PC keeps saying something's wrong though with the feedback. But you can start. I'm just going to assume it's working. I think it's probably ad block that's fucking up. Didn't this happen last time? Go do the other server. I'm not doing the other server. You can do the other servers. They can all watch me at a later date. It's fine. It's fine. Everything's fine. I just want to crack on with it. That's a limited amount of time that I can do with my voice, I expect, tonight anyway. So, Duskmourn! Let's talk about Duskmourn. Well, actually, let's start off by just talking about Magic Puzzle Quest, shall we? Because Standard's in a bit of a state at the moment, isn't it? We're right in the thick of power creep at the moment. Hard to say whether it's going to carry on through this set. I've certainly seen a couple of very, very powerful cards in this set, but the whole top tier of standard cards are too good at the moment. And I mean, it's okay, isn't it? I don't think the game has completely broken down. But it's worrying. It's worrying that we're deeply in the thick of power creep. We'll get to an event that Webcore have designed very shortly when we do the, where are we going, news and announcements, when we do the 6.9 update notes. Oh, that's Marvel Puzzle Quest. Oops! 6.9 release notes. Here we go. And I still, ever since they made Galta, you know, I've always really thought that Webcore just want to make this into a very, very random, slap your hand on the screen and random things happen game, you know? And we will be getting to an event shortly that really doesn't disabuse me of this notion. That's the state of standard anyway. Like I say, there's lots of broken stuff around at the moment, but you know, it's the whole format hasn't really broken down yet. It's fun playing with broken stuff. We all like playing with broken stuff, but there is a limit to how much you can power creep. Duskmourn. I'm quite excited about Duskmourn just because I like haunted houses that go on forever. I'm sure we talked about this on the last stream. Having a big old haunted house that covers the entire plane is absolutely my bag. So I'm generally quite excited for this kind of the aesthetic that's going on in this set. Whether or not Webcore have knocked out the park with the mechanics, we shall see. Spoiler, they definitely haven't. Oh, by the way, guys, I didn't get my preview card again. Can you just make sure you sent that? Yeah, just check your inbox. I had a look in my spam filter. It's not there. Just check that you sent that to me, because I mean, this is about. Oh, come to think of it, I've never had a preview card ever since the start of the game. That's weird, isn't it? Yeah. Duskmourn, new mechanics. Let's go. Go. Survival. This is an evergreen. I mean, it's not an evergreen. It's a keyword mechanic, isn't it? It's not an evergreen. Moving on. Representing visitors to the house. They are the weak and hunted. At the end of turn, if this creature attacked this turn, perform this card's associated survival effect. Now, they've converted this from paper. It's much more interesting in paper because, one, creatures don't have to attack in paper, and two, it counts whether creatures are tapped in paper, not whether they've attacked, yeah? So this is basically an effect that triggers every single turn except the turn it comes into play. And that's all it is. So that's not really very interesting, is it? It's basically just a creature. This is the same as a creature just saying, at the start of your turn, do X. You know? Or at the end of your turn, do X. It's just doing it in your combat phase. Because you can't choose not to attack. So, I mean, it's basically nothing, you know. How could they have changed it? I don't know. You know, we don't have tapped creatures. So, I'm not sure they could have done anything particularly interesting with that. But it's far, far less interesting than it was in paper. But it's fine. Rooms. Now, rooms are an interesting thing. I hate what they've done with rooms. But they're okay. Like, as cards to play with, they're actually pretty good, I think. Yeah? We'll get to a room. It'll be easier to see what rooms do when we actually get to a room. So I think I'll hold off explaining what rooms do. I had to actually test it myself. I believe it was Nalthazar's spoiler video. It might have been Paladin Robbins. Sorry if I got the wrong content creator there. They explained what rooms did, and I thought, well, surely rooms can't work like that. That's just silly, isn't it? So I played with one of them myself earlier today, and they do, in fact, work in this silly way. But like I say, they're complicated, and I'd like to be looking at an actual card when I explain it. So we will move on and do it later. Finality. Well, finality basically isn't anything, is it? If a card with a finality counter on it would leave the battlefield, it's exiled instead. It's just a way to allow... you know, graveyard resurrection effects without allowing infinite recursion effects. And that's fine. We don't mind that. But it's basically nothing particularly interesting. Impending. Now, impending is just fucking weird, to be perfectly honest. The way they've done this is just weird. Is an evergreen ability, a numerical keyword that tracks the number of turns a card is in hand, reducing its impending value. Nothing wrong with that inherently. Yeah? Interesting idea. If the card enters the battlefield and the impending value is not 0, the card costs less mana equal to the... Well, I mean, that's a weird way of explaining it anyway. It can't... it can only enter the battlefield if you've cast it already. So you can't reduce its casting cost after it goes onto the battlefield. The way it works is when it enters your hand... its cost is reduced. So if something has impending 4, its cost is reduced by 3 times 4, Only, oh no, wait a minute. When the card comes into your hand, when this card enters your hand or at the beginning of your turn, reduce the card's cost by X. X is 3 times the card's impending value. Then reduce this card's impending value by 1. So when you look at the cost of an impending card, you've then got to, sorry, it will say it's usually a big high number. So you'll have a card with, say, cost 20 and impending 4. And then you'll have to multiply 4 by 3, 12, and then subtract the 12 from the 20 to get 8. Now, I assume that's going to happen by magic. When you're actually playing the game, that's going to happen by magic. So you won't have to do that maths in your head. But unfortunately, when you're looking through the cards like we are now, and when you're building your decks, you are going to have to do that maths. I don't know why they've done it this way. Why would they not do it in the opposite way and show you the cheap cost, yeah? And then say for every turn it remains in your hand, make it get more expensive. Wouldn't that be smarter? Yes, it would, Steve. That would be smarter. Anyway, and then the creature gets, if you're casting the creature before the impending has run out, it gets -X, where X is the impending value. At least you don't have to do maths there. It's just 1 times the impending value and not 3 times the impending value. Again, like, the theory behind it, impending, it comes into your hand and then every turn it stays in your hand, it gets better. Does it get better if it gets more expensive? I'm not sure it does get better. Does it get better if it gets +1/+1 in a turn? It doesn't. Really what happens with impending is that it gets worse, doesn't it? The card comes into your hand and then every turn you don't cast it, it gets more expensive, which is a bad thing. And it gets +1/+1, which doesn't really offset the fact that it's getting more expensive to cast. So it's like the opposite of impending. What's that? The idea of impending is it's an impending doom and it's coming and oh, it's a dangerous thing and it's coming along. Whereas what they've made is a mechanic where, well, there's a thing, but it's getting weedier and wimpier every turn. You care about it less every turn. It's kind of the opposite of impending, isn't it? Manifest. Yeah, I hate this one as well. Yeah. I mean, they've kind of tried something with Manifest, right? So we've got the same kind of thing. We've got Manifest Dread is the name of the mechanic. And for some reason it creates fright tokens. I don't think there are fright tokens in paper, are there? Because when you Manifest Dread in paper, you just play the card face down. It's the same, Manifest Dread is the same as the Manifest mechanic. And you just play the card face down. So I don't know why they didn't call them Dread tokens. Maybe they are fright tokens. I don't know. Maybe it's one of those things where you put a card face down in paper and then you put another little token on top of it that calls it a fright. I don't know. I think it's just a bit weird that it's Manifest Dread and the creature says Manifest Fright on it. Why doesn't the creature say Manifest Dread on it? You know? So, you Manifest Dread, you look at the top 2 cards of your deck. Oh no, that's not true, is it? You don't do that until you're until you actually do the ability on the card. I'm still thinking of the paper thing. So when you Manifest Dread, you get this 2/2 token that you can see on the screen right here. Yeah? And then you can activate the ability. We've got all kinds of... It's time for activated abilities, finally, surely. Haven't we got all kinds of activated abilities now? You know, Vanguards are activated abilities. Cloak, that's an activated ability. We've got Manifest, we've got Rooms are activated abilities. Can we just get rid of activated gems now, please? Because they are shit and everybody hates them. And no, it doesn't solve the problem. Just printing Activate 10 on a card. Zivert was telling me this the other day. That somehow it solves the problem of Activate gems being absolute shite by just making 10 of them. Because firstly, Demolition Field is too good, right? But even aside from that, even aside from power levels, on a purely aesthetic design point of view, Like, it's all very well having 10 activated gems in play so that you can actually get one. The problem then comes when somebody else plays a card that's got activated gems, or you play a second card that's got activated gems, and now all of a sudden you can't tell which activated gems are associated with which permanent. So it does not solve the problem, I'm afraid. So yes, can we get rid of activated gems, please? So when we activate, as an activated ability, this Fright token, what we do is, this is written on the card here, drain 8 mana from your hand, then destroy this creature. No, it's not losing a reinforcement, which I find a little bizarre. Now, I don't really like it when creatures lose reinforcements rather than just dying most of the time. But if there was ever a time to do it, it would be this creature. Because if you end up with a stack of these manifest tokens, it would be nice if you could manifest all of them and gain a card off all of them, but they don't work like that. Anyway, you manifest it, you drain 8 mana, destroy this creature. If you do, pick one of the first 2 cards from your library, fetch that card. If it's a non-spell card, that card gains 12 mana. I mean, I don't know. Yeah, you know, draining 8 mana to gain 12 mana, that's not a lot, is it? That's a net 4 mana. That's a bit rubbish, although it might end up casting the card that you get. You might not have a non-spell card off those top 2 cards. You might both be spells, and then you're not getting any mana off them. It seems inherently a little on the weak side, but I mean, I guess we will see. It depends what the cards, like, you know, if the first card we see is a card that creates 5 of these manifest tokens every turn, then it's going to be quite good, isn't it? But I think, yeah, like I say, the mechanic is inherently weak and will therefore need to be on, you know, the cards that actually use it will need to be powerful. And like in the same way that, you know, Discover is an inherently powerful mechanic, and therefore it's rather foolish to put it on Tempt with Discovery, or whatever it's called. Is it called Tempt with Discovery? I'm getting confused with Tempt with Bunnies now. I don't know. It's not called Tempt. What's it called? What's the big green conversion spell called? Anyway, that's the kind of spell you shouldn't put Discover on. Eerie. Let's move on. Eerie is an evergreen ability that triggers an effect every time its controller unlocks a room, or when an aura or enchantment card enters the battlefield. Now, this seems dangerous to me. Please note that Eerie cares for these cards entering, not for them being played. You see what they've done? Because I think time bubbles are enchantments, aren't they? I mean, I think Pajami's tokens, Ajani Invigorate Leadership, his tokens that he creates for a very, very tiny loyalty cost, I think they're enchantments as well. So this seems dangerous to me. We will see how it goes. I mean, Dad Fairy, as everybody calls him, Teferi, what's he called? Teferi Chronoclast? He is a powerful and dangerous guy as it is. If he gets a nice, powerful Eerie card in the set, and I'm pretty sure he is getting one, that might be a bit of a problem, to be perfectly honest. We'll see. I don't know. I mean, he doesn't just naturally sprog out time bubbles as a matter of course, does he? Teferi. He makes denied gems, and then they turn into time bubbles. So maybe it's not going to be a big problem, but I don't know. I'm a bit nervous about that. But, I mean, you know, it's a fine enough mechanic. It's the same as, I want to say Constellation in Paper. Is it the same? There was definitely something in Paper, wasn't there, that every time he played an enchantment, it triggered. Can't remember. I think once again, though, I think we can say that the mechanics are a bit, well, maybe they're not as bad as they have been in the past. Like I say, the thing about rooms is I hate the Vorthos of it. Like, they're actually going to be quite nice to play with, and they're probably going to be quite powerful to play with as well, depending on the effects. I just hate the specific way that they've done it. That's all. I hate the card design. I hate, but because of the way they've made them double up in this stupid, silly way, they're going to be quite good to play with. So yeah, maybe we don't hate the mechanics too badly. Let's move on. Kaito, Bane of Nightmares. What do we have? Blue, black. +5, +5, +2. Those look like Kasmina mana bonuses, don't they? Roughly. +5, +5, +2, -2, -2. Ability 1. Oh, he doesn't have a passive. Of course he doesn't, because he's dual coloured. Cost 8. Surveil 3. Draw a card. Create a Kaito Shadow clone. Right, so we're not putting mana into the cards, and 8 loyalty is a fair old whack. The advantage we're getting over somebody like Ral. I say it, clearly we're not getting an advantage, but let's pretend we are. The advantage we're getting is we're creating a 1/1 token when we do this. So we're getting a card, we're not getting mana for it, which is bad, but we are getting a 1/1 token. When this creature deals combat damage to your opponent's planeswalker, if this creature has 1 or more reinforcements, gain 2 loyalty. This creature has 4 or more reinforcements, creature's base power and toughness becomes 3/4. Now, 1 reinforcement, presumably it means you've got to have 2 of them. You've got to have a 2/2 Kaito Shadow clone. So that's 16 loyalty for a 2/2 creature, which is going to gain you 2 loyalty when it attacks. I'm not very interested in that. I mean, maybe when it attacks, it just, you know, when the 1/1 attacks, maybe you get 2 loyalty. But then why would it say if this creature has 1 or more reinforcements? You know? If 0 reinforcements meant it was dead and 1 reinforcement meant you had 1 in play that wasn't reinforced, why would it even say that? I mean, maybe it does work like that, but it seems like it doesn't. Seems a bit poo, his first ability. Let's move on. Ninja Technique cost 8. They changed these. Yeah, somebody mentioned this on the Discord earlier, that they printed all of his costs for his loyalty abilities at 8, but these are misprints. Destroy target opposing creature. The first card in your hand gains 6 mana, then create a Kaito Shadow clone token. Oh, okay, right. So every one of his abilities is creating a Kaito Shadow clone token. I mean, I kind of like that. I like the... I don't really like what the Kaito Shadow clone token is. I like the fact that all 3 of his abilities are creating the same thing, and then it gets, you know, it gets more abilities as it gets bigger. Yeah? If the token itself was less poo, I would like that. It's like the opposite of rooms, you know. I like the I like the design. I just don't like what it actually is. And then Ninja Technique, Puppy Steps. Your creatures get +2/+2 and gain unblockable. Opposing creature gets stun counter 1. I mean, that's rubbish, isn't it? That's a rubbish third ability. That better be really cheap, that third ability. That's all I can say. Yeah, I'm unimpressed. I'm unimpressed with Kaito. We move on. Liliana of the Dark Realms. She looks a lot very Ian Gibson to me. I noticed this earlier. Yeah, has anyone read the Ballad of Halo Jones? No? Well, that's what she looks like to me. She looks like that. 2000 AD. Look it up. What have we got? +3, +4. Oh, that's... oh, no, this is probably my favourite spread of mana, actually. That looks like... Teferi, Hero of Dominaria mana to me. 4, 3, 2, 1 and a -1. I like that spread of mana a lot, because I don't like to have 2 -2s. I know people love it. I don't like it that much. Passive ability. At the beginning of your turn, if there are 2 or more creature cards in your graveyard, gain X mana. X is the number of black gems on the board. I mean, that's a fair bit of mana. Actually, you do have to have 2 creatures in your graveyard. What are we in? We're in mono black. But the first ability, yes, I remember now. The first ability is going to dump some cards into the graveyard. That does seem quite powerful, actually. Because look here, we combine this with ability 1, cost 6, it's reasonably cheap. Convert the top 6 cards, destroy the top 6 cards of your library. If a creature card was destroyed in this way, I mean, I think you've got a fair chance of doing that. With 6 cards going into the graveyard. Convert 5 gems to black. So I think you're going to find an excuse to play with at least 4 creatures in your deck, I think, aren't you? I know people, we want to play with 3 because we don't build over. But playing with 4 is kind of okay. You know, and you're going to want to pump up the number of creatures in your deck so that you've got a decent chance of, when you use that first ability, of firstly making it convert and secondly turning on the passive ability. So I think you could pump up to 4 creatures. And then you're gaining X mana return. That seems quite good, to be perfectly honest. She is a mono, so, you know, probably going to be rubbish as a result, but it seems okay, actually. The combination of the first 2, 5 gems to black is, it's all right, but it happens at the good time, doesn't it? It happens on your turn, in the middle of your turn, before you start casting things. That's the right time to be converting. Let's see what else we got. Dark Consumption. Target creature gets -X/-X. X is equal to half the number of black gems on the board, rounded down. I mean, that's not powerful, is it? It's going to happen sometimes. You always have the choice of whether, if you print this kind of -X/-X on a card, then you always hate that card when you draw it. But here it's just, sitting, in her loyalty abilities, ready to be used whenever it's at all useful, which mostly it's not going to be. Oh, I mean, it's a permanent -X/-X. Does that mean anything to anybody? Not really. It means you can hit a Marvo with it, and even if he doesn't die, he stops gaining cards and mana, I suppose. So if a creature dies, return it to the battlefield under your control. Okay, I mean, so you could kill a loot with that, couldn't you? You could kill a loot. You could kill what's he called? The infamous Cruel Claw. People seem to like playing with that, and I can't figure out why, because it's obviously so much worse than Dragonhawk. I can only imagine the reason people are playing with him is because they don't all have Dragonhawk yet. But I see a lot of Cruel Claws around. Anyway, ability 2, not very powerful, but, not irrelevant. It's the type of thing that you've got in your back pocket should it become useful. You could kill a failure with that, Ability 3, Shadow Triumph. Your black mana bonus is increased by 4. Then, if your black mana bonus is 12 or more, destroy all opposing cards. Right. Well, that's just a bit weird, isn't it? Because basically what that's saying is you've got to use it twice to destroy everything. Cost 15 loyalty. The first time you use that, all you're getting is your black mana bonus going up by 4 permanently. Is that worth it? I mean, not really. I mean, yes, you're going to be getting black matches because you're going to be using ability 1, but are you going to be using ability 1? When you just spent 15 loyalty for that ability, yeah? Then you're going to have to get some more loyalty to use ability 1, but aren't you going to want to save up for ability 3 again? I don't know, it seems too expensive. We've got Requisition Raid now, thank you. We've got very good ways of completely wiping the board these days. I'm not sure we need to spend 30 loyalty doing it. That's a bit expensive, to be perfectly honest. I mean, if she could play with Golden Wish, she could get 30 loyalty like that, but she can't because it's a white card. So in conclusion, she looks okay for a mono, but certainly not one of the good monos like Ren and Realmbreaker. And Liliana, is Liliana of the Veil actually good? I was playing with her this past couple of months, and I've just generally been unimpressed. I appreciate she is dangerous in Greg's hands, but I'm kind of generally unimpressed with Liliana of the Veil. So yeah, you know, kind of above average from mono, but considering that monos are generally absolute dog shit, that's kind of damning with faint praise, isn't it? Let's go on to the events, because I want to talk about this event. I don't want to talk about Night of the Hunt, where you get, if you control a human creature, gets +1/+3 permanently, and vigilance, yeah, or you get, when a human creature is destroyed, the first card in your hand gains 3 mana. I don't really want to talk about that too much. Those are kind of fairly uninteresting, to me, fairly uninteresting. Maybe somebody's planning to kill loads and loads and loads of humans. Good luck with that, if you are. The one I want to talk about is Battle for the Crown. Have you seen these? Okay, so these are the event supports that we're getting in this one. So there are 2 nodes, and as with many other events, you know, if you go in the 1 node, you get 1 support. Greg gets the other support. There's loads of events that work like this now, aren't there? So here's the 1 support for Will. When you gain life, increase this card's level by the amount of life gained at the beginning of your turn. Reduce the cost of white or blue cards in your hand by X. X is this support's level. This card's level becomes 1. Now there's a card that does this, and it's called Will, isn't it? And I believe it's one of the rewards for battles from the ages. Is it called Battles from the Ages? I never remember if it's Battles for the Ages or Battles from the Ages. So that's quite a powerful effect. And you look at that and immediately you think, well, you know, I can be gaining quite a lot of life every single turn with Dakon. And making all my spells a lot cheaper. The scary one is Rowan. And again, Rowan does exactly what Rowan does. The card Rowan does, yeah? When you take damage or lose life, increases card's level by the amount of damage taken or lost. At the beginning of your turn, reduce the cost of black or red cards in your hand by X. X is equal to this support's level. This card's level becomes 1. Now, Greg's going to have this. I can't believe everyone's not wetting themselves at the thought of this. I saw this earlier and I posted it on the Discord, and I expected pandemonium to break out. Dogs and cats living together. And everyone just went on about their day. Like the world hadn't ended. The fools. Yeah, but in one of the nodes in this event, Greg's going to have this card, yeah? And you're going to attack him with your creatures, and then all of his cards are going to become free. Is that not quite scary? Yeah. Let's say he's got 4 cards in his hand, and he's built for the node. He knows he's going to be having this support. Yeah? And you hit him for 4 points of damage. Yeah, he's basically gained 20 mana there. And 4 points of damage is fuck all. If you're hitting him for 4 points of damage, it's going to take you, what, 30 turns to kill him. Is it? 120? Yeah, 30 turns to kill him. You know, you've got to be hitting him harder than that. You've got to be hitting him for about 10. It's just the colossal amount of mana that Greg is gaining from this card. I don't like the swing it's going to create. All I can say is be careful. You know, there are strategies. They are few and far between and very limited, the strategies. But I can say just be careful. Be careful before you put a creature down and start attacking Greg in this event. Because you will get a surprise. If you hit him hard, or even just reasonably hard, or just for a few points of damage, you will get a surprise. Okay? I don't like it. Like I say, you know, this, to me, this is another sign of Webcore just wanting us to just slap our hands on the screen at random, just do random things and just enjoy the pretty lights and colours and not really be playing an interesting game of strategy. It's a fucking match 3 game, Steve. Don't take it so bloody seriously. You're just like one of those Star Wars fans who keeps giving death threats to everyone. That's what you are, Steve. Am I? Yeah, maybe I am. No, I'm not. I hate Star Wars. There's one Star Wars movie, and it's called Star Wars. There you go. That's what I've got to say about Star Wars. We're not reading any of those. I didn't notice anything interesting there before. So I think we could just crack on with the cards, can't we? Let's go! Oh, I didn't even have to reload the game. Look at that. Cards. Duskmourn. Plink. We're going in alphabetical order, aren't we? Let's go! I bought a few things earlier today. Let's go! Allow me to blow my nose first. And we're cracking on with Abhorrent Oculus. 7 mana, 5/5. Okay, it's largish, isn't it? Excuse me. Now, this is the thing, isn't it, we were talking about before. At the beginning of your turn, you may exile the first card in your graveyard if you do Manifest Dread. Now, let's just assume, for the sake of argument, that you've got some cards in your graveyard. Because, I mean, that's not a given at the start of the game, is it? You've got to do some work to start putting cards in your graveyard. But let's just assume that what this card does is Manifest Dread every single turn. Yeah? And this is what I was talking about earlier. Yeah? It's like, what you would like to be able to do is to build up a stack of tokens, yeah, and then use up those tokens one by one to gain cards off them, yeah? You would destroy one of one of the reinforcements, yeah, drain 8 mana from your hand, fetch a card from your library, put 12 mana into it. Hopefully, again, you're not guaranteed of putting 12 mana into it, but there's a decent chance of putting 12 mana into it. But you can't do that. If you start building up the tokens, if you ever want to turn them into creatures, you have to blow up the whole stack. And I think this is basically what kills this card, I think. You know? If you could just do it one reinforcement at a time, we might be able to talk about it. I mean, it's still not that impressive, really, is it? Because like I say, if you're... Well, let's talk about it like we're just blowing up the Manifest Dread token every single turn, you know? What you're doing every turn is you're draining 8 mana from your hand, and then you're drawing a card and maybe putting 12 mana in. So we've got these caveats, haven't we? We need cards in the graveyard before we can actually do that. They need to be non-spells to actually put mana in it. And even without those caveats, we're draining 8 to gain 12. It's not a whole lot, is it? So, I mean, it's all right. Oh, it's definitely high shit tier, isn't it? I mean, low high shit tier, but definitely high shit tier. Yeah, but no better than that, I don't think. I mean, to be perfectly honest, even if you could do the thing with the reinforcements, I don't think that would bring it above high shit tier, to be perfectly honest. But it would be nice if that's how it works. Survival, this creature gains flying. So what you're saying is if this creature attacks and hasn't been blocked, it gains an ability that allows it not to be blocked. Brilliant. Fucking amazing design. Well done, you are geniuses. Altanak the Thrice Called. When this creature becomes a target of a spell your opponent controls, well, I mean, that's always worthless, isn't it? Good lord, this is a 15 mana 9/9 for uncommon. And those are quite good numbers for uncommon, aren't they? This is the type of card I would play in Implicit Maze, except I can't play it in Implicit Maze because Implicit Maze has those stupid bloody set restrictions on it. But I would put this card in a Grist deck on that one level that you've got to play with uncommons and commons. Yeah? But I can't because of the set restrictions. When this creature becomes a target of a spell your opponent controls, draw a card. That's not very interesting. When this creature dies, return the first land card from your graveyard to your hand. Well, that's all very uninteresting. The only interesting thing about this card is the numbers, isn't it? 15 mana 9. Does that make it high low shit tier or low mid shit tier? I don't know. Somewhere around there. Anthropede. What have we got? When this creature enters the battlefield, you may discard the last card in your hand. If you do, destroy a random room support. What a piece of shit. Seriously? Are you serious? I don't know. Maybe there'll be a room that is so good you need to target and pick it out. Pick it out of the other support. Because obviously, you know, Conclave Naturalists has got more raw power on it. But, you know, sometimes you want to pick a specific type of support out. But if this is what you have to use, if there is a room that is so good that you need to blow it up, regardless of what other supports are on the board, and this is the card that you need to use, God help you. In fact, if you do need to do that, may I recommend Echoes of Eternity. Appendage Amalgam. When this creature attacks, surveil 1. I don't mind it. Yeah, okay, as a rubbish common, I guess. Terrible, but, you know, I don't... better than a lot of commons. Arabella, Abandoned Doll. I'm trying to remember, what's the name of the doll called in the movies? It's Annabelle. I don't know. That's obviously what they're going for, I think, isn't it? When this creature attacks, deal X damage to your opponent's planeswalker. Right, it's a 1/3 for 12 mana. It's not good. Then gain X life. X is the number of creatures you control with base power or toughness, 2 or less, including their reinforcers. I mean, just make it a lot larger and give it lifelink at the end. So that's a really dull card. Eerie, your opponent loses 2 life. So every time you play an aura or an enchantment creature or enchantment support enters the in play under your control, or when you activate an unlock ability, creatures with cards with Eerie perform the associated Eerie effects. And they've really put as many words on there as they possibly could have. I think they could have trimmed that down a little bit. Anyway, it's rubbish removal. Oh, we're not moving on. We're not quite moving on, because I just want to mention, I really like the Eerie support. Look there, in the middle. Yeah, on the, just down there, just on the side of the screen there. Yeah, with the eyes and the teeth. I really like that little icon. It's nice, isn't it? Terrible card. I love the little Eerie icon. It's cool. Balustrade Worm can't have its mana drained or raised. Well, we don't care. When it dies, return the creature to the battlefield under your control. It gains finality. Wow, what a piece of shit. Yeah, piece of shit. We move on. Baseball Bat. This appears to have some magical power. It's got some green crackly stuff going on, this baseball bat. Why is baseball white-green? Is that the right colours for white-green? I guess it's white-green, is it? I mean, jocks are green, aren't Tyvar, he's a jock. He's the kind of guy who would be carrying a baseball bat around. He is green, I suppose. And I guess it's white because there are rules in baseball. Right. At the beginning of your turn, your first creature gets +1/+1 until the beginning of your next turn. You could just do it all the time! I'm going to do it. Is it called Brawler's Plate? Is it? Look! You can just do it all the time! I know I said I wasn't going to shout, but I want to. You can just do it all the time! Stop it with this triggering and it goes off at the start of your turn, then it goes on until then it turns off at the end of your next turn, but it starts again immediately and it keeps re-triggering. Stop it! You could just do it all the time! Alright? Thank you. God, that really annoys me. Far more than it should. +1/+1. When your first creature attacks, target creature gets stun counter 1. I mean, this is kind of locking something down, isn't it? For an uncommon, it's kind of locking something down, isn't it? As long as your first creature is attacking, this looks kind of high shit tiery. Yeah? And I don't like stun counter, you know. Stun counter's always got that thing that, you know, it doesn't disable something immediately for weird reasons. It waits till the start of your opponent's turn. But yeah, if you do actually get to attack, It's okay. You know, for an uncommon, it's okay. We don't care about it. In the real world, we don't care about it because we're playing with assimilation ages. But for an uncommon, it's okay. When this creature dies, manifest dread. Right. Don't care. Bear trap. When an opposing creature attacks, deal 3 damage to that creature, then destroy this support. God. Your first creature gets +1/+1. Maybe I'm just not in the right mind to be doing this. All these cards just seem so bad. Calm down, Steve. We've only got through 12 cards. Of course they're bad. All cards in Magic Puzzle Quest are bad. We all know this. All of the cards are bad except for a tiny handful. Don't lose hope. You've only been through 12. Your first creature gets +1/+1. Then it deals damage equal to its power to up to 2 target opposing creatures. Yeah, I mean, whatever. Whatever. Did you know we've got Requisition Raid now? Did you know that? Yeah? Did you know we've got Deem Inferior now? Yeah? We've got power creepy cards now. That means that these cards, these bad cards that were always bad, they look fucking worthless now, don't they? Yeah, they do. When this creature enters a battlefield, you may discard the last card in your hand if you do convert 3 gems to red. I mean, whatever. I've seen worse at common. Betrayer's Bargain. Destroy a random support you control. Well, I don't want to do that, especially for 10 mana. So I have to pay 10 mana and destroy a support to deal 5 damage to a creature. Yeah? When I could just pay like 8 mana and kill something straight away with a fell. Yeah? Why would anyone ever play with this card? What do you like? And this is the type of thing! This is what I'm talking about with the Commoners' Cup. And everyone says, oh no, we all like playing with commons. They do not put any thought into the design of these cards. The only reason for commons to exist, the only reason they exist is to stop you opening rares when you're opening packs. That's it. They have put no thought into these cards. They don't give a shit about them. And you people out there, you actually want to play a format where you play with nothing but these cards? Are you insane? Right, that was too much shouting. Blazemire Verge, what have we got? This is a land, and it's got Activate 2. Well, that's really bad, isn't it? Because Activate 2 sucks. This is going to be a cycle. I mean, it'd be fine, wouldn't it, if it just converted 2 and converted 2. It's only got 2 shields. We don't like that. But Activate 2, I mean, that just kills this stone dead, doesn't it? Terrible, terrible land. Yeah, even leaving aside the fact that Desert exists. Have you met Desert? Have you ever come across Desert? Have you ever played against Desert? Yeah, you don't convert gems anymore. I'm sorry. You can convert gems with Galta. That's okay. I'll let you do that. Galta's broken. That wins games. Don't convert gems with Blazemire Verge. Please no. Boiler Bilge's Ripper. When it enters the battlefield, destroy a random support you control. What's going on with destroying your own supports in red? What's going on with it? You need to make things a lot more fucking powerful than this. You need to make it a lot more powerful than a 13 mana 4/4 that deals 2 damage to any target if it's going to blow up one of your own supports. Yeah? There is design space in there. Don't get me wrong. There's lots of design space in there for creatures that blow up your own stuff when you play them. But they've got to be a lot more powerful than a 4/4 for 13 mana. Bottomless Pool. Rooms, look, rooms. But when you open one of these in a booster, yeah, the artwork like scrolls across from one room to the other. When you're playing in the game, the artwork scrolls across from one room to the other. it's nice. But we got to rooms, and we're going to actually talk about what rooms do now. And I'm going to have to talk about why I don't like them. And everyone, I know you're all going to disagree with me just because you want more power. And I guess that's fine. Okay. So what's going on with rooms is that a room has two different effects on it. Okay. This bottomless pool, it costs 8. You're going to play it for 8. And you're going to get the first part of the card's effect. When the support enters the board, return target creature to its owner's hand. So right away, that's all right, isn't it? For 8 mana, return target creature to its owner's hand. Do you know what it's better than? It's better than fucking destroy a random support, deal 5 damage to the first opposing creature. It's better than that, isn't it? Okay, so that's what you get. 8 mana, return a creature to its owner's hand. Now, the unlocked here now, that refers to the number on the room token. You're going to pay that. Oops, you're going to drain that 11 mana, because you can see the 11 on the room icon. Yeah? This is an activated ability, so... Sorry. Let me go back. You're putting this support into play. It costs 8. It bounces a creature. Yeah, and then during your turn, you'll be able to click on this support and you'll be able to tap on an activated ability that it has. Yeah, and when you activate that ability, here we go. Once the card is on the board, you may activate the unlock ability to drain mana from your hand equal to this card's unlock value. So you would drain 11 mana from your hand. When you do, this card gains the unlocked emblem. Room cards have a additional effect when you get the unlocked emblem. Okay. So you start off by bouncing a creature for 8, and then you, on a later turn, you drain 11, and what happens is that the support, which is staying on the board, gains this further ability. When a creature deals combat damage to an opposing planeswalker, draw a card. Which is okay. I mean, you know, this is a bounce spell, and it's a perfectly decent bounce spell. It's not deemed inferior, but then nothing's deemed inferior, isn't it, you know? We've got the power creep problem again. You know, this perfectly decent removal spell that if you showed somebody in 2016, they'd go, oh, I might put that in my deck. You know, anyone playing in a coalition event now would go, well, piss off. I've got just unbelievable power in my board sweeps now. Yeah, you know, it's a decent enough bounce spell. Bad removal for mastery. And then you can get a second ability on it, where this support's going to stay on the board. So when you unlock it, then every turn, you will be drawing a card whenever a creature attacks. Now, you're not putting any mana into that creature, but then, you know, it's an uncommon card. Nobody's expecting it to be powerful or anything. Now, here comes the interesting bit, and also the bit I don't like, is that these are flip cards. You can see that I can flip this card over, and you'll notice the text has swapped around now, right? The initial ability is when a creature deals combat damage to a planeswalker, draw a card. And then the unlocked ability is to return target creature to its owner's hand, right? So there are basically 2 rooms. Look, you can see the 2 rooms on the card here. There are basically 2 rooms, yeah? And what happens is you can play this side of the support and get 1 room and then pay 11 mana to unlock the other room, yeah? Or you can do them the other way round, yeah? You can flip the card over, you can pay it for 11 mana and get the 1 ability, and then when you unlock it for 8, that's when you get the bounce effect. But here's the thing that I do not like, is you can do both of them, yeah? You can play the bottomless pool and unlock it and have those 2 abilities. You can also play the locker room and unlock it and have those 2 abilities. You've got 4 rooms in play now, haven't you? You haven't got 2 rooms in play. You've got 2 different supports, the bottomless pool and the locker room, and they're both representing 2 different rooms. So you've got 4 different, I just hate it, 4 different rooms in play, you know? And, like, you know, that's nice because, you know, in this particular instance, obviously only one of those effects is ongoing, but you know, if you've got an unlocked bottomless pool and you also have a locker room, then whenever a creature attacks, you draw 2 cards. So this is why people are going to like this, because it doubles the power of continuous effects. But just the simple fact that that you play 1 room card and get 2 copies of both rooms, that just rubs me up the wrong way. I just really hate it. There are plenty of ways they could have done it. You could have had, you know, 1 support representing 1 room and 1 support representing another room, you know? That would have been fine. And yes, that would have been less powerful, but that's the way everything else works, you know? If you play a Shadow Spear and then you play a second Shadow Spear, you don't get +6/+6, do you? No, everything reinforced. That's the way everything works in this game. You play 1 copy of something, you reinforce it, you know? With the supports, anyway. Yeah? And, you know, the same with ongoing abilities on creatures. You know, power and toughness stacks up when you reinforce things. But you don't get 2 copies of, you know, Rakdos killing things if you play 2 Rakdai, do you? I hate it. But unfortunately, we have to move on. Clearly, from a player's point of view, if you don't care anything about game mechanics and all you care about is raw power, clearly it's better to be able to do both things. So, I am looking forward to see what rooms are. I will try not to mention this again. I've already waffled on about it far too much. I think all of the rooms I've seen so far have just had, you know, 1 ongoing effect and 1 triggered effect, you know. But I'm sure we will see rooms with 2 ongoing effects, both of which you can double up. So, you know, there's a potential for a lot of power in rooms, and we await to see what's going on there. Exile an opposing artifact or enchantment card at random, manifest dread. I mean, obviously, shit, this could cost 3 mana, couldn't it? You could just make a demolish and put manifest dread on it, for God's sake. There would be nothing wrong with that. If you're fucking power creeping anyway, then just power creep. But this, no. Brood Spinner, what have we got? When this creature enters the battlefield, surveil 2. When a creature dies, create X Golgari insect tokens. X is the number of different creature cards in each graveyard. I guess, yeah, you know, it's a slightly above average. Is it a slightly above average creature with reach? No, probably not, actually. No, it's probably. I mean, how many insect tokens is going to... My brain's thinking about card mastery. Don't think I've gone insane, and I'm actually thinking about playing this in any sensible event. I'm just thinking about card mastery. It's crap. I don't like it. Cackling Slasher, 9 mana, 3/3. When a creature dies, if this creature doesn't have Berserker, this creature gets +1/+1 and gains Berserker. I mean, it would be fine just to give it Berserker, wouldn't it? Wouldn't it? 9 mana, 3/3 Berserker Death Touch. That would be fine, wouldn't it? Yes, it would. Cautious Survivor. Survival, gain 2 life. So remember, all survival means is it triggers every turn except the turn it comes into play. So it's a 13 mana 4/4 that gives you 2 life every turn. Does anyone care about that? No! Central Elevator. Okay, we've got a rare room now. So, 9 mana, when this support enters the board, pick one of the first 2 room cards from your library, fetch that card. Okay, so this is kind of interesting, isn't it? Obviously terrible and low power, but who knows? Maybe there's so many good rooms that we'll want to play with this kind of thing. So, I mean, it seems really unlikely that we're going to want to play with that side of it first, doesn't it? So let's see what the other side does. At the beginning of your turn, all cards in your hand gain X mana. Well, we like that. X is the number of room cards you control, including their reinforcements. I mean, it just seems too expensive, doesn't it? Yeah, I mean, I get it, you know. This one card, of course. Let's not forget, this one card makes 2 rooms. Because it makes 2 different supports, yeah. And then you can fetch 2 more that might be different type. They might be the same type, and of course, when you make this one card, will make those 2 different supports, but won't make any others, because a central elevator will reinforce a central elevator, and a promising stairs will reinforce the promising stairs. It just seems so slow, doesn't it? Because we're fetching the room cards, but we're not putting mana into them. So I'm paying 16 mana, yeah, to get one mana for all of the cards in my hand. Yeah, and then maybe I could play another 9 mana. 25 mana I would have paid there to be getting 2 mana in all the cards in my hand every turn. Is anybody excited by that? I don't think so. You know, we live in the days of Chimil and Golden Wish and the mana filler givers, you know, like Dragonhawk and like your infamous Crawlclaw that you all like for some fucking reason. I don't know. You know, does anyone care about Promising Stairs? I think they do not. Wow, look at that fucking artwork, man. I don't know if I like it, but it's just crazy artwork, isn't it? Let's have a look at this version of the chainsaw instead. Obviously, the chainsaw represents chaos. I like the fact it seems to be on fire as well. When the support enters the board, deal 8 damage to target creature for 12 mana. Okay, so that, piss poor. For a rare, we'd be wanting to look at a card that was with something, wouldn't we? The beginning of your turn, your first creature gets plus X plus 0 till the end of turn. X is equal to this card's level. When a creature dies, increase its card's level by 1. Okay, so the idea is that you play it, you immediately kill one of your opponent's creatures, and then your first creature is getting plus X plus 0. I mean, do we care? Do we give a shit? Yeah? Do we care? No. Because we want to kill things, we've got Demon Inferior, and if we want large creatures, we've got Elspeth, and we've got bunnies. Yeah. Are you seeing the problem with power creep, are we? Charred Foyer. I think I've got this one, actually. Oh, it does. Yeah, look, it says. It doesn't say I do not own this card. I actually have this one. So 14 mana. At the beginning of your turn, exile the first card from your library. Then, if you have more mana than half that card's cost in your hand, fetch that card. It gains X mana. X is the amount of mana in the first card in your hand. That's just weird, isn't it? I'm going to have to think. Obviously, this is mana filler giver adjacent, isn't it? But I'm going to have to think about whether it actually is. So, we're exiling the first card in your library. If you have more mana than half that card's cost in your hand. So say it's a Charred Foyer, yeah? If I've got 7 mana in my hand, then I fetch that card. Oh, I have to actually have the mana in my hand, otherwise I don't even fetch the card. I fetch the card, it gains X mana. X is the amount of mana in the first card in your hand. Now, chances are that mana that you had, when it says if you had more mana than half the card's cost in your hand, it's probably going to be in the first card in your hand, isn't it? Because that's how cards work. They fill up like that. And of course, you can turn off the first card in your hand. So there's a good chance, frankly, that card that we're fetching might be gaining 14 mana, yeah? If I've got, just for simplicity's sake, a Charred Foyer, yeah? And if I have another Charred Foyer that it was full of mana and disabled as the first card in my hand, and then if I ripped a third Charred Foyer, it's unrealistic, I know, but just as an example, everything on my hand costs 14. Yeah, everything in my deck just happens to cost 14 for the sake of maths. Then not only am I fetching it, but I'm also gaining enough mana to put it into play. So we're kind of mana filler giver adjacent. The thing is, you know, what's happening when we don't have mana? When we're up against it, when we're on the back foot, we're having to cast cards every turn just to stay in the game. We don't have mana, do we? So not only are we not adding the mana, we're not even fetching that card. So if we're up against the wall and we're having to cast all of our cards every turn just to stay in the game, this card's doing nothing for us, and I do not like that. Let's see what the other side of it does. Warped Space. Oh, right, yeah, I remember this. When you exile another card from your hand for the first time during your turn, put that card into play under your control instead. I mean, clearly that is a ludicrous effect, isn't it? You know? It's probably not going to happen. I mean, this is proper mana filler giver, this, isn't it? You know? Every turn, fill a thing full of mana, which is basically what it means, putting it into play. It does not work on spells, obviously, but it will work on supports and creatures. You can just exile it from your hand, so you've got a good degree of control over what card is being exiled. The only time you are ever going to exile a spell is if you do something like use Khan's first ability. But even if you do, even if you are Khan and you're going to use his first ability, you've still got the chance to exile a card from your hand yourself first before you do that. So it seems very unlikely you're going to be in a situation where you are forced to exile a spell. You're pretty much always going to be able to exile a card that will then be put into play, and it will be a nice expensive one as well. It's 20 mana, it's only 2 shields. That's the thing that I don't like about it. It's a little bit flimsy at 2 shields, isn't it? You know, and there is a good chance that when you pay that 20 mana, you won't be able to immediately exile something. You might be able to immediately exile something after you play this card, but it seems unlikely, doesn't it? So I don't know. I mean, we've got 2 powerful effects here, but they are both expensive. You are paying for both of them, 14 mana and 20 mana. Obviously, you can double up on both of them. If anyone wants to get really excited by the fact that you can pay 68 mana and have 2 copies of both effects for 68 mana, if anyone wants to get really excited about that, be my guest, you know? You know, and yes, okay, you know, when you play the 20 mana for the Warped Space, you can then play the other side of it for free simply by exiling it from your hand. But you are still going to have to actually drain 20 mana to turn that one on. And actually drain 14 mana to turn that one on. So, I don't know. It seems a bit flimsy to me. It seems a bit undeniably powerful effects, but it just seems a bit flimsy to me. I cannot see myself clamoring to get hold of that one. I don't think it's a chase card. At the beginning of combat on your turn, your first creature gains menace until the end of your next turn. I mean, why? Why? Why does it do that? Because they put no thought into commons. But go ahead, you all have fun playing your Commoner's Cup. Clockwork Percussionist. When this creature dies, exile the top card of your library. Then gain X mana. X is half that card's mana value up to 10. Right. I mean, you know, the problem is it only triggers when it dies, doesn't it? You could that could have been a card that did a thing. All of those, you know, exiling the top card of your library, gaining half its mana value, up to 10. That could have been a fine thing, couldn't it? But it only triggers once when it dies. Come back wrong. Destroy target creature, then return the last creature from target graveyard to the battlefield under your control. That creature gains finality. So, again, this is the kind of card we would have looked at in 2016. We'd have been very excited by. Yeah? We're destroying a creature. and we're putting a creature into play. We're reanimating something, all for the low cost of 14 mana. I'm afraid 14 mana doesn't do it for me anymore. For just 2 more mana, I could play a Rakdos, and I could blow up something every single turn, you know? Or for, you know, Deem Inferior mana or Requisition Raid mana. I can't be interested in a single point removal for 14 anymore. We're too deep into the power creep to care about that. Sorry. Pick one of the first 4 cards from your library. Fetch that card and destroy the others. That card gains X mana, X the number of creature cards in your graveyard, gain 10 life. Yeah, that's definitely not powerful enough, is it? Should have made it cost 11 for Colours of Magic. Yeah, should definitely have made it cost 11. When this support enters the board, Manifest Dread. Beginning of your turn, the first creature... yeah, not powerful enough. Interesting. Yeah, not rubbish. Moving on. Okay, destroy a random opposing creature. This is a spell card that's a shapeshifter. Interesting. Do we have creature types on spell cards now? Is that what we do? They hate that in paper, don't they? They had to come up with all kinds of silly rules to put creature types on. That's what Tribal was about. And like Tribal wasn't even allowed to, there were reasons why Tribal wasn't allowed to be a super type. Tribal had to be a type for reasons that the rule committee were so adamant on. And then of course we all forgot about Tribal existing. But anyway, here apparently this is a shapeshifter. Here we go. 15 mana. Destroy a random opposing creature. Destroy a random opposing non-token enchantment. This is starting to look a lot like Casualties. Is it called Casualties of War? There was a card that blew up one of everything, and it was green and black. So a random opposing creature, an opposing non-token enchantment, an opposing non-token artifact, and then Delirium. We're doing Delirium again. Now, Delirium did not trigger a lot. That's the thing about Delirium, isn't it? And again, unfortunately, I don't think Webcore probably know this. It really didn't trigger a lot. It was not a powerful ability. If I was going to bring Delirium back, I would make it Delirium X. Yeah? Delirium 7, Delirium 8. Put some numbers on it that mean it can trigger. But Webcore won't have tested this. They won't know. They'll think it happens. It doesn't happen a lot. Black or green, create an ooze token, then reinforce it X times. X is the number of cards destroyed this way, including their reinforcements. So what is an ooze? It's a 2/2. So we could be destroying 3 cards and therefore making a 6/6. I mean, Requisition Raid, anybody? I mean, sure, you know, you might not have the colours, but if you don't have the colours, play a different Planeswalker. Sorry. Coordinated Clobbering. The first 2 creatures you control gain can't attack. Right. There's a real kind of handicapping yourself theme going on in this set, isn't it? We've been blowing up our own supports, and now we're giving our own creatures can't attack. Deal X damage to the last opposing creature. X is the total power of your first 2 creatures. Yeah, rubbish? Cracked Skull. When the support enters the board, your opponent discards 2 non-land cards without mana from hand. Right. I mean, too expensive for discarding cards without mana. They kind of like this. So this seems to be a thing that Webcore like. We're going to make you discard cards without mana. But it makes it kind of pointless. I mean, we do have infinite obliteration, you know. That is in standard all of the time, you know. So, I mean, you really have to make cards that look at least a little bit like it in order for us to care. When a creature deals damage to you, destroy that creature, then destroy this support. Okay, so you've got a little bit of removal in there as well. So there's a rubbish discard effect coupled with a rubbish removal effect, which, you know, I guess you could say bad removal is okay for mastery, but it's bad though, isn't it? It's a bad card. It's bad. Bad card. Eerie, this creature gains lifelink, or just make it have lifelink. Yeah, 11 mana 3/3, aren't those the exact stats of a white creature in Origins that has lifelink all the time, and in fact has renown and gets bigger? Yeah? Cursed Recording. Okay. Yeah, no, I kind of like it. I kind of like the aesthetic. I don't know if I actually play with these cards, but I kind of like the aesthetic. When you cast a card for the first time during your turn, create a copy of that card in your hand. That card gains full mana. Interesting. Now will that trigger? I don't think it does trigger off itself, does it? If it was enters the battlefield, if the card said enters the battlefield, it would trigger off itself. But I think this card needs to be actually in play, so it's not going to trigger itself. Now, it doesn't make much of a difference, except for the fact that it only has 2 shields. If it triggered off itself, it would be a support with 4 shields, and I would like it a lot more. But with 2 shields, it's a bit flimsy, isn't it? Still, we're doubling up everything, and we haven't even got to the end of the card yet. So, it's a mana filler giver, and there's more. Then, increases card's level by 1. At the beginning of your turn, if this card's level is 5 or more, you lose 20 life. Oh, there was me thinking that the level thing would be like better and improve it. But no, you're going to lose 20 life. I mean, 20 life is not a lot of life to pay for 5 free cards, is it? But we're having to actually pay the full cost of those cards. I think about mana filler givers like Dragonhawk. Dragonhawk obviously being one of the best ones. You know, is that I play my Dragonhawk, and then the next turn it just goes, here you go, Steve, here's your card, and it costs 18 mana. Have 18 mana for that card. Whereas the thing about this card is you have to actually, like, play this card, and then play another card that costs 18 mana before it will give you a card that costs 18 mana. So, I do think the downside is quite small, but given that it costs 18, and only has 2 shields and is therefore a bit flimsy. I mean, what are you going to play with? You're going to play with this, or are you going to play with Villainous Wealth? I think you're probably going to play with Villainous Wealth, aren't you? Yeah. Don't think I like that one. Sorry. When this support enters the board, Manifest Dread. Okay. Your first creature gains flying. Okay. Yeah, they were very weak on it. I said this, didn't I? That the Manifest Dread mechanic in itself is inherently weak. Now, it's inherently kind of strong in paper, isn't it? Because when you manifest a card, it flips over, and you're getting a free card. I suppose you do have to actually pay the mana cost of that card. But yeah, so I suppose that's what the drain 8 mana is about. You drain 8 mana, you put 12 into it. Because the idea is you're not getting anything for free. It's the same in paper. Yeah, you do get a free card that flips into pay, but if you want to flip it over, you have to pay the mana cost of it, don't you? So it's a weak mechanic. They seem to be putting it on weak cards. I mean, we have had a good card, haven't we? Well, I say good. a more powerful card with it on, but even this was not good enough for Manifest Dread. So considering this is one of the better ones, it looks like Manifest Dread's going to be a washout. That is the way it looks to me at the moment. We're still only at C. We've only done 37 cards. We're moving on. Survival, destroy the top card of your library. Right? That's incredibly uninteresting, isn't it? Remember, all that means is every turn, destroy the top card of your library. I mean, it's kind of, that's a basic problem with survival, I think, is that what survival does is it kind of hides the rule text behind some, behind the hypertext, rather than just writing on the card so you can read it and easily parse what it does. It just makes it a little harder to parse what it does. And it'll be fine, All of us players who've been playing for ages, we'll figure it out. New players to the game, though, it just makes things a little more complicated for no real reason. Don't like it. Dashing Bloodsucker, that's Blade, isn't it? This creature gets +2/+0 and lifelink until end of turn, right? I can't imagine that being particularly interesting. I don't know. Like I say, Eerie is something to watch out for because, I don't know, maybe there are ways to drop loads of enchantments in play. Tokens tend to be artifacts generally, Tokens that get created by cards tend to be, food and gold and treasure and things like that. But, we do have specific planeswalkers who can crap out enchantments. But yeah, this card, obviously bad. Dazzling Theatre, we're back with the rooms. We're hoping to run into a room that I think is really good. At the beginning of your turn, each creature card in your hand gains Convoke 6. Well, I mean, that's rubbish, isn't it? If you're winning, win more. That's what that says. Let's have a look at the other side. When a creature enters the battlefield for the first time during your turn, that creature gains lifelink. Then your creatures gain vigilance. Right. It does gain lifelink permanently. Okay. Do we care? Do we care about that? I'm not sure we do. Nope, not sure we care about that card in the slightest. Survival Manifest Dread. So, we're making a token every turn with this. That puts it like a high mid-ship. Does that make it high mid-ship tier? Somewhere in mid-ship tier anyway, doesn't it, for a common? Defiled Crypt. Oh, it's another room. Okay. When this card leaves your graveyard. Well, that's a bit weird. When a card leaves your graveyard. Right. Not when this card leaves your graveyard. That makes more sense to me. When a card leaves your graveyard, create a horror token. That is a 2/2. It's an enchantment, so it's going to trigger Eerie. Interesting. I hadn't really thought about the fact that... I wonder if fright creatures are... Do you think fright creatures are enchantments as well? No, they are not. Okay. But this is an enchantment creature. Okay. Well, it's only one of them anyway, though. We're only making 1 2/2 a turn, and it's not easy to make cards leave your graveyard. So let's have a look at the other side. When this support enters the board, return the first creature card from your graveyard to your hand. Very low power, isn't it? Very low power. I mean, I know you're all thinking, it's Clive. Clive's been doing his thing. Has a look at the synergy on this card. If you pay 13 mana, 13 mana, and then you pay 7 mana, you've paid the low cost of 20 mana, and you've generated a 2/2 creature, haven't you? Such a low power card, though. Affects the first demon card from your library. It fetches half its mana. Delirium, that card gains full mana instead. Well, I mean, I'm sure there's going to be a powerful demon in this set. I'm pretty sure if we were to skip the end and find, what's his name, Valgavoth, who is the big bad, and who you'll notice I already have because he's been given away from Battles from the Ages. He is a big, powerful demon. So there are going to be big, powerful demons we could fetch with that card. But we're only gaining half the mana of it. And we need Delirium to get the other half. And Delirium is not easy to get, to be honest. So I'm not sure it's going to be worth playing this to go and fetch Valgavoth, to be perfectly honest. Not when they're, mana filler givers. I could play Chimel, right? If I wanted a card that's got half its mana in it, I could play Chimel. I didn't really. I know. When Chimel actually came out, I know I said I didn't like it that much. But the reason why I'm into Chimel at the moment is purely because it's a better way of fetching more Golden Wishes. Golden Wishes is the best card in Standard, hands down. I don't know. I don't play with Dragonhawk a whole lot for some reason. I think it's mostly because there's never a red node in Revolving Planeswalk. You know what I mean? And because I play with Dakon all the time. Because the best cards in Standard are all white. So maybe Dragonhawk is the best card in Standard, but I end up not playing with it. Anyway, yes. Chimel I like because Golden Wish fetches Chimel, and then Chimel fetches more Golden Wishes. And you can put full mana into a Golden Wish with Kylox's Vault Strider, but you're more likely to fetch another Chimel, another Golden Wish if you have another Chimel. That's why I like Chimel. That's why I talk about it like it's a good thing when I may have been slightly down on it in the past. So yeah, I'm not sure we like Demonic Council. I'm not sure it's going to be worth using that to go and fetch Valgavoth and probably only putting half its mana in it. When a demon creature you control attacks, you draw a card and lose 3 life, it gains 10 mana. Right. Well, that's quite powerful. 3 life is really nothing to worry about. Yeah, drawing a card and putting a 10 mana into it is quite good. I mean, I'd rather this was just a creature that attacked and every turn drew a card and put 10 mana into it. That would be better, wouldn't it? So, I mean, we're really going to have to be looking out for demons. Should we just randomly have a quick look for demons? That are creatures. Or Rakdos, Patron of Chaos, is a demon. They're all a bit expensive, aren't they? Bloodletter is 10. Okay, that is not a demon. You know, they're all a bit expensive. I know that this card itself is only 8 mana. You know? But, like, I'm not sure I'm excited about something that combos with Rakdos when Rakdos is just so powerful on its own. I mean, that might just be me. I mean, you put Rakdos into decks, don't you? Because it's just so amazing. Where were we? Demonic thing. So am I adding this to the deck just because I've got Rakdos in my deck? And maybe another demon in my deck? I don't know. Then mill 30, destroy this card at the end of your turn, create a demon token. Right, I'm confused. Does it create a demon token after it's been destroyed? I mean, they really should make this a bit clearer, shouldn't they? Obviously, when a demon creature you control attacks, it does the thing, yeah? And then mill 30, destroy this card. But then, does it only create a demon token after the card's been destroyed? Or does it only create a demon token after a demon has attacked? Or does it create a demon token every turn? If it creates a demon token every turn, then all of a sudden, it's a bit more exciting, isn't it? If this is an 8 mana card that creates a 5/5 every single turn, regardless of what else happens, and then when those creatures attack, it draws a card and puts 10 mana into it, then all of a sudden it's amazing. I mean, that's quite important. Do you see what the difference is there? Yeah? Between having a 5/5 every single turn, yeah, and only having a 5/5 once when the card is destroyed, when there are 30 cards in your opponent's graveyard. There's quite a big difference between those two things, and I really can't evaluate the card without knowing which is which. Then destroy the top cards of your opponent's library. I don't know. I don't know what's happening. Play test it and see. If it makes a 5/5 every... If it's good, it's good, and if it's bad, it's bad. There you go. That's my assessment of this card. I don't need to explain any more to you. Go and play it and find out, because I can't tell what it's supposed to do. Derelict Attic. When this support ends the board, draw 2 cards, lose 2 life. That is low power. The beginning of combat, if you're to control 2 or less creatures, your first creature is low power. Okay, dull. When this support enters the board, manifest dread. Your first creature gets +4/+2 and gains Death Touch and Lifelink. Okay. So we're essentially paying 14 mana for a 6/4 lifelinker. Yeah? Because Death Touch is largely irrelevant on this card. Which is obviously low power. I'm not excited. Somebody was saying, you know, this was like a new Shadow Spear. I'm like, I get it, you know, lifelink is never an irrelevant ability. But, you know, Shadow Spear had some other good stuff as well. Shadow Spear would, like, get through Hexproof, you know. I don't find myself getting excited about this card. I get it. It's a 6/4 with lifelink, yeah. But then if it dies, it leaves the lifelink behind. I get that. But, I don't know. It seems low power to me. Disturbing Mirth. Yes, that is Disturbing Mirth. I am disturbed by that card art. When this support enters the board, you may destroy a creature card you control with the lowest mana value at random. I mean, I still don't want to do that. You know what I mean? I mean, I guess I might have some token creatures, and it would hit the token creatures. I still don't really want to destroy my own creatures, thank you very much. If you do draw 2 cards, those cards gain 3 mana, right? Rubbish. Manifest Dread, when it's destroyed. It's rubbish, it's bad. Manifest Dread needed to be much more powerful than this, didn't it? Either the mechanic needed to be powerful, or it needed to be on better cards. Or both. But you can't put a low power ability on low power cards. Okay, here's the thing. Now, I was a bit snotty about this one on the Discord. And I'm going to be snotty about it again, to be perfectly honest, because, you know, of how I play the game. But this is one to watch out for, and let us explain why. It is not this side. This side says when a non-toy creature you control attacks, create a toy token, which is a 1/1. That's not the interesting thing. The interesting thing is this. For 10 mana, when this support enters the board, your creature's base power and toughness becomes 4/4. So I forget who spoiled this. It was either Nalthasar or maybe it was the Planeswalker coach. And what they immediately said is that this is going to be really good with Elspeth. Yeah? And my reaction to that is the same thing I always say about everything that combos well with Thopter Spy Network. You know, it's that, like, Elspeth is good enough on her own. I'm not excited to play this card with Elspeth and turn all of my 1/1s into 4/4s. I'm quite happy to play the one card, which will kill Greg, you know, only a couple of turns behind this combo on its own, yeah? But not have this other dead card in the deck for when my Elspeth gets blown off the board, and then all of a sudden I've got this dead Porcelain Gallery doing nothing. That's just how I play the game. However, you are going to be going up against some Gregs. Pajamis are going to love this card, yeah? They're going to be playing Pajami. They're going to be playing this. They're going to be playing Elspeth. They're going to turn all of their 1/1s into 4/4s. I'm not saying it's going to be like Pajami of old. We all remember playing against Pajamis with Armaments Master and Angel of Destiny, you know, and what was the other one? There was another angel, wasn't there? That used to put two, when he had full life, he used to put two things into play. I don't remember. Pajami used to be scary in the olden days anyway, because he could put a lot of power down. And Porcelain Gallery is going to go some way, I think, into bringing back that Pajami of old. We will see. Watch out for this one. Like I say, it's not really my style. I'm quite happy just playing Elspeth. If I can have, 7 to 10 1/1s every single turn, I'm quite happy to do that. And the other 9 cards in my deck can be something else that don't combo, But people are going to like playing with this. And let's not forget, I was going to say, let's not forget, because it's a room, it can get doubled up. But, obviously the we're not doubling up the effect of transforming things into 4/4. Transforming something into a 4/4 twice still makes it a base power 4/4. And the other effect really isn't particularly interesting. When a non-toy creature you control attacks, create a toy token. I mean, yes, okay, it's a 1/1 and then it turns into a 4/4. Yeah, the interesting side of it is the Porcelain Gallery, really. It'd be interesting to see if Greg actually plays with that. You might find that Greg just plays the Dollmaker's Shop and never actually gets around to turning his creatures into 4/4s. Hard to say. I mean, does Greg uncloak his creatures? I don't know. I don't know if he's going to unlock these things. I don't know if he's going to flip his split cards. We will have to wait and see. But if he does, you may find yourself facing Pajamis who are turning all their 1/1s into 4/4s. So that's certainly something to watch out for. And if you like doing it yourself, knock yourself out. Go right ahead. Enjoy. It's not an awful card. It's just not particularly my style. It's certainly a card that is not bad, which does make it stand out so far from this set. Drain 6 mana from your hand, then surveil 1. Right? Oh, from your opponent's hand. Thank God. I mean, still awful. For a second, I thought it was making me drain 6 mana from my hand. So yeah, terrible. We move on. Doomsday Execution. This is a 6 mana 6/6 demon. That's quite large, isn't it, for 6 mana? We're probably going to find out it's got a downside, but let us see. When this creature enters the battlefield, exile the top 6 cards of each player's library. The beginning of your turn increases level by 1. At the end of your turn, if this card's level is 6 or more, each player loses X life. X is equal to half your opponent's Planeswalker's current life, rounded up. Right. I mean, 6 turns is kind of too much to trigger, isn't it? Hands up anyone here who's ever been killed by a Millennium Calendar? No? Nobody got their hands up? No. So 10 turns is definitely too much, yeah? Millennium Calendar will do you 100 damage in 10 turns, won't it? And that's never happened in my experience. I feel like 6 turns isn't going to happen either. We will, later on in the set, I know there is a creature coming which is going to deal half of your opponent's life total to them every time it attacks. But having to wait 6 turns to do it, it's a bit too much, to be perfectly honest. I can't really get excited about it. Even though a 6 mana 6/6 is obviously above the odds, which puts it up into high mid-shit tier. We can't really get excited about a 6 mana 6/6, can we? I can't actually, it has to be good. It can't just be better than terrible. So I feel like this one's actually probably going to be a bit of a pain when you're mastering it, because when you are mastering it, it probably will survive for 6 turns, which will mean it will deal you a huge amount of damage, which will mean you end up using up fucking potions. So this card is actually probably a bit of a pain in the arse when you're mastering it. Don't like it, we move on. It's the same thing. Yeah, okay. Drag to the roots. Destroy target creature for 13 mana. Then an opposing non-land support loses 3 shield. No. Obviously not. Blow the support up. Would we have liked, if it said destroy target creature, destroy target support, would we have liked that for 13 mana? I mean, obviously not, because we can play with requisition rate. Sorry, it's power creep. Gain control of target opposing creature for 15 mana. That creature gets -3/-0. They haven't even bothered, have they, to think about what happens if you already own 3 creatures. Who knows what's going to happen? It might crash the game. There have been reports, of Kidnap and Assimilation Aegis crashing the game every so often, haven't there, for having too many creatures in play. In the olden days, Hibernum would always say, wouldn't they, if you've got 2 or less creatures, you can gain control of things. Webcore don't even care about that anymore. They don't even care about letting us know about how this card works if you're going to have a lot of creatures. I mean, it's fine, but for 15 mana, I want to blow up everything Greg has. I don't really want to just gain control of one single thing. I want to gain control of everything Greg has, blow up everything Greg has. And I deem this card inferior as a result. We move on. 60 mana. Return the first creature from your graveyard to the battlefield, then gain 6 life. That's too expensive, isn't it? Too expensive for 16 mana. Enduring Courage. When another creature enters the battlefield, that creature gets +2/+1 and gains haste. When this creature dies, create an Enduring Courage support. Right. I mean, so it's kind of like a haste, isn't it? Is it called haste? It's not called haste. It's anger, isn't it? But it's not. It looks like anger, but it's not. So anger was a creature from back in the day in Magic. In fact, I think we've got it in Magic Puzzle Quest as well. And while it's on the board, it's a 2/2 haste creature. And then when it's in the graveyard, it gives things haste, doesn't it? But this doesn't do that. This has to come into play. So you have to play it as a 14 mana 3/3, which is small and expensive, and then it has to actually die and not get bounced by a Deem Inferior, which is one of the premier removals from the set at the moment. So, from standard, I mean, not the set. So you have to actually play this and actually have it die and not get exiled or bounced. So, considerably worse. So, as a result, I don't think we care. I'd like to see an anger. If we could just drop it into the graveyard somehow, yeah, and then everything that came into play get haste and +2/+1, I'd like that. So this looks a lot like that, but they've just given it a tiny little tweak, which makes it largely worthless in my eyes. We move on. Oh, hello, there's going to be a cycle of glimmers now, are there? Enduring Curiosity. Well, obviously the blue one's got to be the best one, hasn't it? I love that artwork. I am obsessed with the little kiddie artwork. When a creature you control deals combat damage to your opponent's planeswalker, draw a card. Then gain 3 mana. When this creature dies, create an Enduring Curiosity support. Okay, so we're in mana filler giver territory, unfortunately, aren't we? Because we're only paying 3 more mana? Is it 3 or 4 more mana than 12 for an Infamous Cruel Claw? Right? And that's drawing a card and filling it up full of mana. And this is drawing a card and gaining 3 mana. Now, this might be drawing multiple cards, but the killer really is the fact that it's only putting 3 mana into them. And yes, when it dies, same thing. We get a token support. When a creature you control deals combat damage, draw a card, then gain 3 mana. So you are going to be gaining quite a lot of cards off this card, to be perfectly honest. But it's not putting a lot of mana into them. And as a result, I don't like it. Sorry, the blue one is not the best one. Let's hope one of these enduring things is good. What do we have? 2-1 lifelink. We don't like it. It is 11 mana though, which is Colours of Magic mana, isn't it? When a creature with base power 3 or less enters the battlefield or is reinforced, draw a card. So that includes this. So we're drawing a card. It's a bit small though, isn't it? 2-1. I was hoping something might happen that might make it bigger. If all we're doing is getting a 2-1 lifelink and drawing a card, that's not very exciting. When a creature with base power 3 or less enters the battlefield or is reinforced under your control, draw a card. So that includes, Elspeth tokens, doesn't it? So you can fill your hand up, but we're not gaining mana, are we? Well, we are gaining loyalty then. So we draw a card and gain 2 loyal. What's wrong with and? What's the then business about? When a creature with base power 3 or less enters the battlefield, including tokens, draw a card and gain 2 loyalty. This effect can trigger up to 3 times a turn. Do we care? I mean, if you're looking for a card to combo with Elspeth, Archangel Elspeth, the Vanguard, I think it's probably Healer of the Pride, isn't it? I don't think it's this. I don't think this is exciting enough to actually put into a deck and think I'm going to combo with that. I think the card you want to go for is Healer of the Pride. So no, we don't like it. Are we at all excited about the idea of playing with this in Colours of Magic? Do you know we might be, because we're creating Thopters in Colours of Magic. All of a sudden we might be back in the game with this. Yeah? So we're playing this. We're drawing a card. We're gaining 2 loyalty every time we play a blue match. So let's say we're playing Dakon. Normally when I'm playing Thopters in Colours of Magic, I'm playing Ashiok, who is not white. So let's say we're playing Dakon. So that means every time we make a blue match, you make 4 Thopters, we gain 6 loyalty and draw 3 cards. I mean, that's something, isn't it? To me, that is something. I mean, I hate that though. I'm not looking for more excuses to play Dakon in Colours of Magic. Obviously, Dakon is one of the most powerful planeswalkers in the game. And I do not want to use up one of my deck slots playing Dakon in Colours of Magic. Who else is white and blue who we could play in the top node of Colours of Magic and we could get good use of Thopters and this out of? Taz, Teferi, as Ahsoka of Zalfir. Yeah? We've got +5 white mana bonus, +5 blue mana bonus. We're making Thopters. We're also making soldier tokens, which are 2/2s, which will also trigger this. Yeah, this is definitely worth thinking about for Colours of Magic. The rest of the time, not so much. Enduring Tenacity, what have we got here? Oh, I got this one earlier today, myself. When you gain... Goodness me, I've been going for 2 hours, really. I've been doing all right, haven't I? Considering my voice hasn't even really given out. I feel a bit croaky and hoarse, but it hasn't really given out, has it? Especially considering I've been shouting, actually shouting earlier. We'll keep going for a little bit. Let's keep going to 11. Let's not go mad. We'll go for another 10 minutes. When you gain life, your opponent loses X life. Right, well, immediately when I got this, I thought, what's it called? Plague Control Infestation. Yes? Because every turn, you're gaining loads of life and losing loads of life, aren't you? You know? So, I mean, you just play this and you're just going to absolutely destroy your opponent in that event, aren't you? Surely. Aren't you? I think you are. I think you can play that in this event. My memory is that you can play rares, uncommons, and commons in that event. So I think you can play this in that event. So that's where I'm going to be testing it out anyway. The rest of the time, a 16 mana 4/3 when you gain life. I don't think I'm too excited by it. I mean, yes, Dakon does get to gain life quite a lot because his first ability tends to fuel his first ability. Again, you know, 16 mana 4/3, it's a bit small. When it dies, it's going to create this support, but things die in a variety of ways. You know, I think we need to start seeing cards that say when this leaves play, when this creature leaves play, do a thing. Because it says when it dies, then I'm afraid Deem Inferior just does not care about that. And Deem Inferior is one of the premier removal cards in Standard right now. You know, there are a lot of ways of exiling things, a lot of ways of bouncing things, and that doesn't trigger dying. So, I don't think I like it. I think I probably will be, at the very least, mastering it in play control. I mean, play control is all about cheating life things, isn't it? You know, there are cards that says your opponent can't gain life that I've been playing in there that somebody put me onto. I think it might have been my man Brisk Fabry who put me onto the that little black creature who says your opponent can't gain life, and you can just rip through that event with that thing. So, but yeah, I'll be mastering that in that event, I think, if it is legal. Here's Bambi. Hello, Bambi. At the beginning of your turn, convert X gems to the most present colour on the board. Okay, we can carry on talking, certainly. X is the number of creatures and creature free forces you control, up to 6. Right. When it dies, again, you know, you've got this problem with dying. It turns into a thing that does that permanently. I mean, not my favourite way. I'd rather just play Selvala and then boom, in straight away, as soon as you've got Selvala in play, you're converting 7 gems, you know? You've got to do a lot of work before you're converting a lot of gems with this. I think some people might enjoy building around it. My problem is that it's a low floor of power, you know? High ceiling of power, the floor's too low. Enter the Enigma. Target creature comes up unblockable, draw a card, right? Very uninteresting. I mean, creatures can't block, can they? Creatures can't block by default. Making things unblockable is not interesting. Entity Tracker. Eerie, draw a card, it gains 4 mana. Right. So this is the type of thing that I was thinking about. I'd not seen this one before, but, you know, this is the type of thing I was thinking about when I thought of Dad Fairy earlier, yeah? You know, he's making denied gems. Those denied gems are turning into time bubbles. Every time a time bubble gets created, I think that's right, isn't it? They're enchantments. So I think it's going to trigger this. Is it exciting enough, though? A 7 mana that draws a card and gains 4 mana. I'm not sure that's exciting enough. I mean, Dad Fairy does a lot of scary things. Maybe it is. Maybe the simple fact that it's drawing cards, if indeed it is drawing enough cards, maybe that makes it, it's going to make it good enough to play with. I honestly don't know. I think it's probably worth testing, certainly. But I don't know. We will move along. I don't think it's the killer app, is what I'm saying, of Eerie. Erratic Apparition gets +1/+1. Yeah, that's definitely not the killer app of Eerie, is it? Exercise. Exile an opposing artifact or enchantment at random. Then exile target opposing creature or power 4 or greater. Yeah, have you ever heard of Requisition Raid? Have you ever seen one of those before? Experimental Lab. When this support enters the board, manifest Dread. Okay, so for 15 mana we're manifesting Dread. We don't really like that. But it does get +4/+4. Oh, only until end of turn. Right. So, I mean, that's shit, isn't it? Because it's making the creature, it gets +4/+4 and trample on the turn that it can't attack. Yeah? And then next turn when it can attack, it doesn't have the +4/+4. So you've always got to already got to have a Manifest Dread token in play, but doubling up on the Manifest Dread tokens, as we know, means that if you want to convert them into cards, you're losing power overall, aren't you? Because you don't get one card per reinforcement, you just get one card per card. So I don't like that. That's terrible design. Let's see what the other side does. Unlocked. When a creature you control deals combat damage, it gets +4/+4. Right, that seems like the more dangerous side to me. It's all just a bit expensive, isn't it? You know what I mean? Like, the reason why you'd play the 15 side is because you don't get a creature by doing this, you know? The only way to get a creature off this specific card is to play the 15 side. Although, you know, there's nothing wrong with, you know, playing a creature and then playing Staff Room. I can't say I'm excited about doubling up rooms. You know, like 12 mana to give a creature +4/+4 every time it deals combat damage. Yeah. And then there's the silly thing, isn't it, where like creatures are going to die and then save themselves by pumping themselves up after taking lethal damage. That's going to be a thing that happens. That's going to annoy people. But, you know, that's the game, apparently. 12 mana is okay for that effect. But 27 mana to do it for a second time suddenly doesn't sound so appealing, does it? You know? Looks too expensive for me. You know, not the worst card. Playing 12 mana to give something +4/+4. I mean, that's in the realms of high shit tier, isn't it? That's all. I think I'm loath to put this any higher than high shit tier. It can be quite high shit tier, but I'm loath to put this anywhere above high shit tier. Sorry. Fanatic of the Harrowing. Each player discards a card, then draw a card. Very uninteresting. Fear of Abduction. This is an 18 mana 5/5. When a creature enters the battlefield, exile target creature. It's white. It costs 15 mana. Yeah, it's got Spree. Ever heard of it? Fear of Being Hunted. 9 mana haste berserker. Yeah, this needed something, didn't it? You can't, in this day and age, you can't just make a 4/2 with berserker and haste. You could, you know, you could give it Death Touch. Yeah, but no, you can't. You can't just make a berserker. Not anymore. Fear of Burning Alive now is. Oh, we got a bunch of fears apparently. Fear of Abduction. This is Fear of Burning Alive. When this, I bet when they designed these cards, I bet they actually had the names. Do you know what I mean? I bet they're actually called, you know, agoraphobia and things like that. And then they thought, no, we want to do weird shit, and people won't actually know what the cards mean if we put the weird shit names on them. So let's just name them in English. When it enters the battlefield, deal 4 damage to your opponent's Planeswalker. Rubbish. When you deal non-combat damage to your opponent's Planeswalker. Okay, this is a thing. Delirium. Oh dear. Deal X damage to target opposing creature. Yeah, rubbish. Fear of Exposure. 1 mana 5/4. This is a 1 mana 5/4. Things like this just shouldn't exist, I think, because the only use for it is ever going to be to find some terrible exploit for, isn't it? You know, like nobody is going to play with this and attack their opponent with it, are they? Yeah, like, but I can hear across the world. I can hear Opera's M's brain already starting to whir, thinking, how can I put this into a broken combo deck? So that's the thing, you know. You can make creatures like this with a tiny cost and a big body, You can make creatures like this in paper. I don't really think there's a place for them in MTGPQ. Or at least, if there is, they're going to be very hard to design, I think. Because almost all of the ones that I've seen, you know, that they've ever made in this game, that are bigger than they should be but have a downside, they always turn out to be shite, don't they? Are any of them good? I know some people like playing with the Gitrog thing, don't they? That eats your own creatures. Don't some people like playing with that? I don't know. I can't think of a single creature with a downside that I would play in MTGPQ. And I have played with creatures with downsides in paper. Morin Fen and Gallowbraid leap to mind that I've played with in paper. Fear of failed tests. Let's do. Oh my! So look, it's gone 11 o'clock now. We should do let's do 2 more cards because that's just how I roll. And let's call it a night after that. What have we got here? Fear of failed tests. As a 50-year-old man who still dreams about not having fucking studied for his GCSEs. Yeah, GCSEs are ordinary wizarding levels for you Americans out there who might not understand. Despite the fact that those things happened 35 years ago, I empathise with the fear of failed tests. When this creature deals combat damage, draw 2 cards. Yeah, not interesting. Uninteresting. You know, again, you could have talked to me in 2016 and I would have compared this to a Jessian Thief. But not in this day and age. Sorry. When this creature attacks, target opposing creature gets -2/-0 permanently and loses flying. There is a bit of permanence going on, isn't there, here? I mean, there's still a little bit too much until end of turn, isn't there? I'm looking at you, Experimental Lab. But there's a bit of permanence going on in this set, and I appreciate that, you know? Because it raises the possibility that they'll accidentally make a good card. Yeah? Like, clearly they didn't care about making a good card here. This thing is a piece of shit. But the more cards that they write good things on, like leaving off the words until end of turn, the more chance there is of accidentally making a good card. Yeah, I'm not too excited about this set at the moment. Yeah, you know, I do still like the flavour and everything. But I think I'm not too excited. Did we find anything that we liked? Did we like Cursed Recording? Did we like Charred Foyer? There's nothing really that we got excited about yet, is there? I think maybe the thing I got the most excited about is Enduring Innocence, and it's not that exciting, is it? Let's face it. It's just a bit of a Colours of Magic combo, that's all. Let's just scan back and see if I missed anything else that cost 11 mana, because I always forget to do that. Cult Healer, yeah, rubbish. Cracked Skull, not good enough for Colours of Magic. I very much do. Yeah, Manifest Dread, we can't use the ability, so it's just a 2/2 creature in Colours of Magic. We don't care. Right, that is it for this evening. Thanks for being in, anybody who was in. I didn't see very much going on in the chat. I assume Shmara had me on in the background or something, or maybe she's catching up later. But hello to everyone in the future who is watching me. And let's hope some more stuff turns up in part 2. Now, I did okay, didn't I? My voice did not give out today. I thought I'd probably do an hour, and then my voice would completely give out, and then I'd have to wait 2 weeks before doing part 2. So I feel quite good about my possibilities for maybe doing part 2 in a couple of days, like I normally do. So pub quiz tomorrow night. So maybe we'll go for part 2. Shmara says I did really well. Thank you. Thank you very much. I felt very self-conscious, so it felt like I was coughing all the time. But I bet I sound croaky, don't I? I'd sound croaky to me. internally hearing myself. I don't quite sound like myself at the moment. So I don't know if I sound croaky to you all out there. But yeah, I'll try and get part 2 on the go on Thursday or Friday this week. Thank you so much for being with me and going through this journey of rather mediocre cards. And we will see you all on the, where is it? There we go, on the flippity flip, as they say. Goodbye.